everyone, welcome to Treat Yourself Tuesday. My name is Casey, and today we will be making Maya Angelou's caramel cake. This recipe is featured in Angelou's cookbook, Hallelujah, The Welcome Table, and is accompanied by a short memoir story of her grandmother, Annie Henderson. I'll share more about this story and why I chose it later in the video. For this recipe, you will need milk, salt, heavy cream, flour, vanilla extract, eggs, nonstick spray, baking powder, granulated sugar, unsalted butter, caramel syrup, and confectioner's sugar. First, preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Spray 2 8-inch round cake pans with cooking spray, line each bottom with a parchment paper round, spray the pans again, and set them aside. The first step is to beat your softened butter and sugar until the mixture is light and fluffy. Ideally, you'll want to do this in an electric mixer fitted with the paddle attachment like I have here. After this, you'll beat in the caramel syrup. Next, sift your flour together in a medium bowl. You want to do this because it helps break up and get rid of any clumps, even if the flour says it is pre-sifted. Then, add your baking powder and salt and whisk together the dry ingredients. You'll then mix the flour mixture into the butter mixture, alternating with milk. You want to begin and end with the flour. The last stage to the batter is the egg mixture. In a small bowl, you'll whisk the 2 eggs until they're foamy. I used a manual whisk, but an electric mixer would be easier. Then add the remaining sugar and continue beating until thickened, about 5 minutes. Add this to the batter and combine. Then divide the cake batter evenly between the prepared pans. Bake the cakes for about 25 minutes or until the cakes spring back when gently touched in the center. If the cakes do not spring back right away, return them to the oven and continue cooking for about 10 more minutes. Let the cakes cool in the pan for 10 minutes and then invert the cakes onto the wire rack and remove the parchment paper rounds. Let the cakes cool at room temperature before frosting. While the cakes are cooling, let's make the frosting and talk about Maya Angelou and her grandmother. In a small saucepan, melt 3/4 cup butter over medium-high heat until nut brown in color, about 8 minutes. You need to constantly stir the butter to avoid it burning. Afterwards, remove the pan from heat and pour the butter into a bowl with a strainer, leaving any burned sediment behind. Let this cool. Maya Angelou was an American poet, memoirist, and civil rights activist. She published 7 autobiographies, 3 books of essays, and several books of poetry. Angelou said, "Food is important, not just as fuel for the body, but as devices for growth of the soul." This is a mentality she learned early on from her grandmother. In her short essay, The Assurance of Caramel Cake, Angelou shares a significant childhood memory with her grandmother, who she called Mama, and food. As a child, Angelou became mute for a time after a period of sexual abuse, the subject of her acclaimed autobiographical story, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. One day, young Maya was slapped across the face by a teacher with no tolerance for a child who could but would not speak. After telling her grandmother about the teacher, Angelou's furious grandmother returned that slap to the owner. When Angelou returned home from school, she found the most wondrous caramel cake looking like paradise, oozing sweetness. Her Uncle Willie, who was sitting on the porch with Mama, said, "This cake can't pay you for being slapped in the face. Mama made it just to tell you how much we love you and how precious you are." Having learned to cook from a grandmother born into slavery who labored her whole life over a wood-burning stove, Angelou's passion for food is flavored with respect for what it took for her forebears to create the dishes she loves. Just like the caramel cake was tied to a strong memory with her grandmother, food can have strong links to our own family and culture. To make the frosting, in the bowl of an electric mixer, ideally fitted with the paddle attachment, add the confectioner's sugar, vanilla, salt, and cooked butter. With the mixer on low, slowly add the cream and beat until smooth. If the frosting seems too thick, stir more cream into the mixture until you reach your desired consistency. The last part is where you get to be creative and decorate the cake however you like. As you'll see, I chose to decorate my iced cake with some swirls and extra caramel drizzle. This month is Black History Month, and I wanted to share this recipe and parts of Angelou's essay to celebrate and appreciate how food can be part of both memory and culture. Food is a great equalizer amongst people and can provide comfort to anyone. When something has been made with love and intention, it shows. I hope to do this with this cake to appreciate Angelou and her memory. Prejudice and intolerance are still alive and violent in the world today. So it is important to continue to educate ourselves by listening to other stories, to look at the actions going on in the world, and to speak out when those actions perpetuate racism, prejudice, and intolerance. We can use this month to springboard education and work to increase the visibility and celebration of Black lives in history, but remember, this does not start and end in February. Continue to listen, to learn, to support, and to act every day of the year. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and good luck making it yourself.